Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. It's Shoutout here, and today you guys are going to be seeing my first ever league race on F122 and ever really. Um, Recently joined a league called Odyssey Racing League, I believe. And yeah, it was first race. I don't know what round it is. I joined really late in the season, so I heard there's only 2 races left in the season, so no point in posting any championship stats or anything like that right now because, well, one, first race, and obviously we won't have any stats to post. So anyways, as you guys are seeing on your screen, this is just the end of my first run. The qualifying sessions in this are short, and then it's a long race. Something happened in my Q2 run. I don't know what I think I lost the footage or something got corrupted because I just can't find it for some reason when I was editing. So this is my final run in the qualifying session. Nothing special. We're currently sitting P3. I didn't realize in qualifying session, but as you guys will see in the race, my setup was an absolute boat on the straights. It was horrible. I was very slow in the straights, but in the turns, I was able to gain it back. I'm not sure if that was pace or if the setup just benefited the corners more. It wasn't my setup. I actually just kind of grabbed one before the race and threw it on. So yeah, I really had no clue what it was set up for. But moving on. Fuck, I just lost it all right there. So you can hear we were actually on a pretty hot lap through the first section, but then going through Puhan just lost a bunch of time. Nothing major, still 3/10 up. So moving along quite nice. Coming into the final sector. The only place we can really make some time here is in this final chicane. And as you can see, we actually practically nail it. I mean, obviously, of course, I'm sure there's a lot better, but gained a lot of time through there. 100,000. Currently in P3, but we would end up P4, right behind Kaij, Spin, and Temp. All run 143s, but just a couple tenths slower than each other. But nonetheless, jumping straight into the race. There was a formation lap, but no reason showing that. We get a really good start. But I think I was just a little too late onto the throttle. As you can see, Spin and Kaij both kind of locking up there. But Spin will come right back around the outside and immediately take that place back over. And yeah, we don't. Gained only 1 place. I'm not quite sure what happened. I actually think it was a grid penalty or something. I'm not sure. But anyways, in P3. We should stay on lap board for the first 2 laps. But then we start to kind of jump around the race as some of the parts of the race are quite boring and just me driving. So more or less just have the interesting parts in here. I am going to mute my mic at the very end of the race because that's the most interesting battle. And yeah, I just want the footage to talk for itself. No need to have my voice over that. But anyways, moving back on. Not too bad. I realized Kaij was, and I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, was really fast along with Spin. I knew I wasn't super slow around here, but I've also never raced in a true competitive, league. I've always done online lobbies and stuff like that, so I wasn't really sure what to expect. So I was hoping that I would at least have a little bit of pace, and as the race started to kind of go on, it showed that I did a little bit. But I was also kind of scared that maybe my setup was not set up correctly, and after I went back and talked to some of these guys after the race, I realized I was completely wrong on the setup. I should not have done what I did. But yeah, you live and learn. So going a bit deep into the chicane, missing the apex, but catching this one quite nicely. and getting nice on quick and on the power. Excuse me. Moving on to lap 2 here. Staying right behind Spin, trying to stay as close as we can. Like I said, Kaiju was really fast, and I obviously noticed that he was already 1.4 seconds up the road, which on lap 2 is pretty crazy. So, a shout out to him for that. That was. These guys really showed me a lot for my first league race, so really interesting and excited for the next couple races. I'm really interested to see what they look like. So, yeah, trying to catch up to Spin, nearly losing the rear end of the car, and we got Hellraiser on our gearbox basically, as he's on the medium compounded tires. So, he's of course going to have a lot more grip and pace than us most likely. So. We're not going to make his life too difficult if he goes for the move, just simply because it'll slow both myself and him down getting up to the leader. As you can see, Spin getting a big snap of oversteer, then suddenly losing the car. Bit unfortunate for him. It would be essentially his race over, bearing there is no safety cars, so yeah, it's a bit unfortunate for him. But anyways, that instantly made my job a little bit harder because I now won't have DRS to try and catch Kaij. But I also have Hellraiser, who obviously is fast. And again, I think my setup was just not set up at all correctly for this track. I was so slow in the straights, as you can see. Hellraiser just gaining all sorts of time. But being smart, completely left the inside open there. Again, going wide on the chicane. Completely left the inside open there for him to make the pass. But I think he was just being smart and wanted to get the benefit of the DRS here and through Eau Rouge and Radion onto the Kimmel Straight. So really smart moves here by him. Not something I'm normally used to. Usually AI would just dive bomb me there, and that's something that I'm normally used to. So yeah, I've always watched a bunch of league racing videos from other people, but to see it firsthand like that was pretty cool, as weird as that sounds. So learned a lot in this race. So, but anyways, Hellraiser getting past us here. My goal was to just stay as close as I could behind him. I knew it was gonna be hard because he had the medium tires on, and I was on 3-lap-old hard tires. And as you can see, moving on to lap 4, we were unable to stay behind him. But then we suddenly get a safety car, and this doesn't have a major effect on our strategy right now. We're obviously just going to stay out. We're going to try and extend these hard tires for as long as we can. And quite honestly, this actually helps us in some ways.
We're doing exactly what the leader does. This is perfect for the medium runners, though. Hellraiser going to box? He is.
Yeah, as you can see there, Hellraiser boxing. And myself saying that we're going to do exactly what Kaij does up ahead. Just simply because I want to try and stay as close as I can to him, because I know he is the fastest car on track. And if we're able to stay behind him, yeah, we could potentially be in a position to not only be, obviously finish second or on the podium, but fight for a win. So that was, of course, my mind. But I knew Kaiju was super fast, and that my setup was very slow, and that maybe my pace was just a bit off. Kaij had the fastest lap and held the fastest lap for the entire race, I believe. I apologize if that's incorrect. But he was really fast. But so was everyone else in this lobby. So, yeah. I believe the guy actually behind me, Dilandu 3000. I'm sorry, I definitely pronounced that wrong. But he was really fast as well. I think he started like either last on the grid or like super far back in the grid. But ended up finishing like P2 or 3. So yeah, shout out to him for that. That's insane. As you can see though, Kaij's warming up his tires. That safety car was out for quite a bit. So the tires are definitely not going to be completely up to temp yet, as we had just gotten back into green flags. But nonetheless, still staying 4 tenths, 3 tenths behind Kaij, and just trying to throw the car around as much as we can and get it, around these corners as fast as we can to try and stay behind him. Again, I felt like I had figured my setup out. Like I said earlier, I was not sure what it benefited, whether it was on the straights or the corners or whatever it may be. Immediately found out it was obviously more so for the corners. because I noticed that I wasn't necessarily losing time through the corners. I knew that they were definitely a little faster, but I wasn't losing all the time I was on the straights. So yeah, I knew that if I was going to potentially stay with these guys at all, it was going to be in the corners. Yeah, looking back, kind of regret not using more ERS. As I say that, we start using it, but moving on to lap 9, we get another safety car, which wasn't surprising. I thought this race was just going to be absolutely filled with them. And yeah, my suspicions were starting to become confirmed a little bit here. Nonetheless, I'm not quite sure why he's slowing down a bunch, but I think it was just to get the delta super high so we could all just get full speed back to the pits, I'm sure. As we skip forward to the end of this lap, Kaij decides to pit, and what are we going to do? We're going to, of course, follow him like we said earlier. I believe a good portion of everybody's going to follow us in. Hellraiser's going to actually stay out. Let's see who else stays out. It looks like Sweetie and Peasant stays out.
I think this is too early to box, but
As you can hear me say there, I think it's a bit too early to box. I was thinking, like I said earlier, we want to extend these hard tires for as long as we can, but Kaij decided to box, and like I said, I wanted to try and stay with him throughout the entire race because I knew he was going to be back in first place eventually. So yeah. So I believe it was 3 cars that decided to stay out on the hard tires. So that'll essentially put Kaij and myself, who are in P4 and 5, at a net P1 and 2. And yeah, I think someone actually either spun out on the safety car or they boxed, but we had a guy in front of us. But anyways, yeah, that puts Kaij up in P3 and us up in P4. So somehow gaining a place on the safety car. Coming up to here, everybody, a little bit controversial restart from Hellraiser from some people, but I thought it was pretty smart. Back the whole field up, and then he got a really good start, as you can see. Kaij up ahead, warming his tires up. We'll do a little bit of the same. Fresh mediums, not completely up to race form. As you can see here, Corsair spinning out, and me and Kaij unfortunately having to make a little contact because he was just losing the car, I think, on his own. But yeah, nonetheless, we didn't get any damage, thankfully. This game is pretty forgiving in terms of bumping and stuff like that. So yeah, moving back on, as you can see, Hellraiser already getting 2.2 seconds up the road, just simply because of that little incident coming out of turn 1. So that's going to leave a lot of work for me and Kaij, but it shouldn't be, not because of Hellraiser's pace, but because of the tire advantage. Hellraiser's on 12-lap old hards, and of course me and Kaij are on what is essentially 1 or 2-lap old mediums. So in terms of tire advantage, we were going to have all the advantage, and especially coming up to these next couple of turns, we're just going to gain all the time back. As you can see, already gaining a couple tenths through each turn. And yeah, like I said earlier, my goal was to just try and stay as close to Kaij as I possibly could. But I also knew that he was really fast. So yeah, I'm going to try and deplete a little bit of the battery to catch back up. Even though DRS is not enabled, we wanted to try and still stay within that DRS zone to, one, try and help ourselves break the people from behind. But also, like I said earlier a million times, we want to stay behind Kaij as close as we possibly can. So, and if you take a look to your left, as you can notice, the guy that was in front of us earlier at the beginning of the race, Spin, is actually back up into P5, now P4. So he also is having an amazing race, catching back up and showing some insane pace. Yeah, as you'll see later on in the race, we have a little scruffle with him, so stay tuned for that. Jumping back on board, as you can see, Kaij is completely caught up to Hellraiser, and they're starting to battle a little bit, and now they're starting to battle super hard. And I noticed that this was a chance for me to make a pass. As you see, Kaij goes super wide and Hellraiser has to go. Kaij comes back around the outside, which I had no issues. It was hard, clean racing. Jumping back on. Caught right back up. Hellraiser still in P1. Kaij catching me in P3. Coming into here. Kaij is lose the car. We actually talked to him after the race. As you can see, Kaij actually... I'm sorry, that was Hellraiser. Kaij gets a 3-second penalty, but we were talking to Hellraiser after the race, and he showed us the clip. The game registered him hitting the curb when he actually, in fact, did not. And it's actually pretty funny. The clip shows that he doesn't at all. And it still spun him, so... One of the many infamous glitches of this game, but again, jumping on. Moving on to lap 17. We suddenly got spin right on our gearbox. And I wasn't too surprised by this. As you can see, I give him a little bob to let him know we're not going to make his life difficult in the straight. Kaij is completely gone, 4.3 seconds up the road, so that 3-second penalty at this point does not matter. And still gaining a ton of time. Because, yeah, he was just super fast. I think he ran a 1:47.0. The spin behind us now gets a penalty, so this is huge. We can let spin pass us with no issues, and as long as we stay within 3 seconds, which we're coming up to the end of the race, and I knew it was going to be hard, but we could do it. We could still be in P2 here, so, and not have to do a whole lot. But then, we suddenly get a 3-second time penalty. So now, yeah, we're going to have to just try and get back into position 2, obviously. So, what could have been a super easy task in some cases, yeah, we just made the situation a lot harder for ourselves. So, but that also means that we get a new set of warnings. Of course, we don't want to get those warnings because we don't want to get a 6-second time penalty, but nonetheless, we can get a little more on the edge, if you will, and if we get a penalty or two, it won't necessarily hurt us too much. So that'll benefit us in us trying to stay up and potentially catch spin. And yeah, using a little bit of the battery to catch. We wanted to try and stay in the DRS zone, but unfortunately we obviously already lost it. But moving on to the end of lap 19, we were able to catch back up. I think his tire wear was maybe a little bit higher than mine, as he started to kind of maybe struggle in some corners. But I knew it still wasn't going to be easy at all to pass him. As you can see, we've gained maybe a 10th or 2 to Kaij, but nothing substantial. But yeah, I kind of noticed I had a little bit of speed coming through our Rouge, faster than Kaij and Spin. Turning off the DRS here, so that way we don't pass him. No need to go for the pass right now, as it's only, we want to save some of that battery and not pass him until later on, so he can't pass us with the DRS, because I knew that he was faster. So yeah, I completely lost my train of thought what I was saying earlier, because I was talking about what was going on. But yeah, I'm pretty much going to mute my mic for this part and let you guys enjoy the last 2 laps. As this is, in my opinion, the most interesting part of my race and the funnest. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Yeah, shout out to Spin there for that battle. As you guys can see there, we actually ended up on the podium, right behind Dill. I'm just gonna call him Dill. I apologize again. Um, and also shout out to him for that race. He, like I said, came back from a mega way back. So, uh, yeah, shout out to everyone in this lobby. Had a really good time. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.